Yes, that's it.
My Queer as Folk books aren't kid books. And I read all of those. My Anita Blake series isn't a children's book.
Okay.
Charlene Harris and Sherilyn Kenyon, none of those are kids' books, and I read all of their books.
But
I don't just read young adult.
But you also have read all the freaking
Harry Potter
books and the Twilight books, the Hunger Game books.
But I'm not the only one.
I know. All kinds of teenage girls read those books.
Lots of adults read those books too.
But they were probably all teenagers and stuff when they read them to begin with.
I was a teenager when the Harry Potter books started. I was 19.
And now how old are you?
30. But I'm not reading them now. I read them then.
Well, I was there. I remember you reading all those books. You know how
you bought them for me.
Because I bought them for you. And we not only did you read all the books, but and you had to have them as soon as they came out. I tried to go and get them as soon as they came out. And this was over, I don't know, a 10-year period or whatever it was. It was a long time. But every time one of them stupid movies came out, we had to go see that too.
I didn't see all the Harry Potter movies at the theater. Just a couple. I think I only saw one. No, two. Two Harry Potter movies. You saw one without me. He took Matthew to see it, and I was pregnant and nauseous, and I didn't go.
Not my fault.
We did see the Twilight movies, though, all but one in the theater.
Ooh, that's all I got to say about that. I'm glad that's over.
You were one of very few men in the audience every time we went. Lots of old ladies and young girls.
Which
dates.
Which one was that one where he asked her to marry him at the end? Which movie was that?
It was Newman.
That was the second one? That's the one that I remember the most. Because
it was boring.
Well, that, and right there at the end, this is how bad it was. I knew I was basically the only man in a completely woman-filled theater. Was at the end of the movie, when this character asked her to marry him, every woman in the theater goes, I mean, I heard, I mean, it was like a freaking vacuum cleaner went off. I mean, all you could hear was that noise, And I'm like, really, people? I mean, what did you expect? I never read any of the books. I never read not one book that I ever read it. But I could look at, I knew 10 minutes before he asked her to marry him. He was going to ask him to marry him.
But they didn't all go, because he asked, they all went, because right after he asked, the stupid screen went black. They didn't get the answer.
Really?
And not everybody read the books. A lot of people just decided they'd see the movies and skip the books.
I mean, I knew from the beginning of the movie, basically, that at some point in this movie, he was going to ask her.
And I gotta say, the movie's not as good as the books and didn't really follow them very well, so that was kind of sad.
You know what other movies that you like the books on that I didn't care for?
The Harry Potter movies.
Well,
they were really bad. Sorry whoever made those, but they were just bad.
But that Hunger Games book.
The Hunger Games book was awesome.
The books might have been good, but
not so much.
The first movie sucked.
They took too much out to keep it with the rating that younger kids could get in the see.
Well, what kind of rating do you gotta have? What do you gotta take out of a book to make sure that the rating is good enough for the kids to be able to see it?
If they had followed the book exactly, it would have had a rated R.
That's because we're letting our kids read rated R books before they're old enough.
It's because of all the violence and the gore that would have been there.
Really? And so how is that not an inappropriate book for young readers?
They just thought that reading about it wouldn't be quite the same as seeing young children get maimed and killed and stuff. In super violent ways.
Like these kids
aren't seeing it like in real life these days.
In real life or video games or, you can't, they don't have an imagination.
But they can't buy the video games that show that stuff without an adult present to buy them too.
I bet you can. I bet you can't. You're not supposed to, but that don't mean you don't. You can't. You know. And then how many video games do we buy for our kids that are just ultra violent? A lot. Why? Because that's what they want. Why? Well, our kids know that. You know, I've made sure. You know, I ask Axel when he plays his video games. I'm all constantly asking. You know, this ain't real. This is not how we really act. This is not how we. You know, because he was talking about the other day how he missed my Grand Theft Auto, you know, game.
I didn't let him play that.
I didn't let him play that.
I swear.
Obviously you did, because he was talking about when you know.
He used to watch you play it.
No, I wouldn't even let him watch it.
And I remember him sneaking in and trying to play it and me catching him and making him stop.
Obviously he snuck in there and caught it and played, and you didn't catch him enough, because he was talking about when I would go to work, he would go in there and play on my PlayStation.
He probably did. He
So,
was in the bedroom.
But, you know, I was saying, you know, even that, I was telling him, but you know that ain't how we act. That's not how, you know, we don't act like that. People, you know, good people don't act like that. We are good people. We don't act like that. You know, and that's the big difference. You know, that's the big difference I see between how we do it and a lot of other kids do it. You know, I'm not gonna tell people how to raise their kids or anything, but you know, you know, if you don't know, it's your fault. If you don't know what your kids are watching or what they're playing or whatever, that's your fault. How's that my fault? Or the people who made the game's fault?
Most of the biggest deal about those games is the gore, which, how is it any different from half the movies that are made these days that kids are watching? Or cartoons are even getting pretty bad. And the language, which isn't on TV yet, but I'm sure will be soon. And
what language?
The bad language that's in video games.
Oh.
That's usually the biggest deal. And
well, I'm telling you right now.
Words are just words. And it depends on how you use them or how someone perceives you using them to how they're taken. You can make a word something bad, but that doesn't mean the word itself is bad. Means that you're the one who misused it, you know?
Okay.
Ass is not a bad word. It's an animal. Bitch, again, an animal. But guess what we did to it? And guess what? This is just my finger. It doesn't mean anything except I have a finger.
You know what this means in places in Europe? Not okay. It means the same thing as this. It's just a different hand gesture, so.
But I mean, somebody just decided, hey, let's make up something stupid. Yeah. And it caught on.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, Axel asked me one time what his middle toe meant. It's just your toe.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know. But I'm not blaming the video game makers, you know. Because you know what, those video games were not made
for kids.
They're made for adults.
Which is bogus, because what adults that's rather play video games?
Lots of adults nowadays.
Because something's wrong.
Well, you know, that's part of our society nowadays. The way you know, some of us grew up doing that. You know.
I grew up reading.
I grew up with an Atari in the house, but you know what? I spent most of my time outside.
I had an Atari.
And I played the Atari at night when I couldn't go outside.
A Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Sega Genesis, the Nintendo 64. I had the PlayStation 2. I had the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2. I had a pinball machine, a full-size pinball machine in my bedroom. Still spent most of my time outside and reading books on the swing.
Yeah. I had the Atari when I lived at home with my mom and dad, and then I didn't get another gaming system until I was old enough to buy it myself. I was what, 18? You know, I was 18 out of high school, working, and when I got my own Game Boy. I got myself a Game Boy, which was a ripoff, and I got a Sega Genesis was my first actual gaming console, and then PlayStation 2. That's it. And then since we've been together, we got the Xbox 360, but that's only because for the kids, I wouldn't have an Xbox. I'd have a PlayStation 3 if it was up to me. Yeah. Good.
I spent my time as a kid riding bicycles, roller skating,
I did too.
jumping rope, climbing trees, playing basketball.
I did all that.
I mean, we went outside.
I went outside.
We played football and softball and.
I went outside and you know, and it would be, I'd be miles and miles and miles away from my home.
Okay, I wasn't because my parents were crazy control freaks.
Well, you know, my mom and dad didn't, you know, and I'd be out on my bicycle, my 10-speed, really. I mean, that's how I learned to get around, man, you know. And it's not like I was out getting in trouble. I spent most of my time in the woods or, you know, in a tree somewhere or something like that, you know.
My parents were so freaked out that I would get hurt by playing sports. If they wouldn't teach me how to play baseball with the baseball, I had to learn with a pair of rolled up socks.
Well, either way, I didn't even start playing high school sports till the 10th grade after, you know, when I had to, you know, what was it, one of my last doctor's appointments, you know, with my pediatrician, you know. I asked him right then and there in front of my mom if there was any reason why I couldn't play football, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play football my whole life. You know, oh, you'll get hurt, you're too small, it's not, you know, you can't do that. You know, look at me now, I'm not too small now, but still, you know, back then I was, you know, was you know, real sickly because I was you know, had allergies and all that other crap. You know, but, yeah, he told her that no, that there was no reason that I couldn't play football, that they would probably be the best thing I could do, you know, get out and get more exercise and this and that. So, the very next day at school, I marched into the coach's office and put my name down on a piece of paper. And that's when I started playing football. And, you know, and I had to learn everything.
Yeah.
You know, that all these other people knew had already been knowing their whole lives.
I didn't sign up for sports until 10th grade, and it was football.
That's stupid.
It was to make a point, and you know.
I know, but I'm just saying. I think it was stupid because you didn't follow through.
Why would I?
Why not? Why wouldn't you? That's the thing. If you're going to go through all that rigmarole to get there.
I never would have gotten to play, and you know it.
So what?
They never would have let me. I would just rode the bench constantly.
You never know. Sometimes you get up high or you get down so low it doesn't really matter, so they just let everybody play.
It's not like they didn't try to get rid of me the whole freaking time.
Well, either way, you know. Still, could have stuck it out.
The most fun I ever had was ROTC and band. Those were the two best things I ever did.
We didn't have ROTC when I was in high school.
ROTC was awesome.
I mean, it was around, but I didn't have it in my school. It didn't come until after I'd already graduated.
Not that it wasn't hard, but it was still just, you know. So I was good at it. That was it.
And what happened there?
I wasn't going to, well, I might have joined the Army, but Mom and Dad wouldn't let me. They flipped out.
That's another, to me, that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day.
Join the Army?
No, your mom and dad, how they flip out.
They were always afraid something would happen to me.
We went from talking about violence in video games, kids,
to join the Army.
To joining the Army, and you know that's not violent at all.
Look, the real world is violent these days.
You know.
I mean, just.
You know, that's the thing, though. I mean, we, you know, it's like we see so much of it. It's just like turn this off. We're all numb to it. You know, until something tragic happens. And then we're like, oh my God, how did that happen? You know, well, you know how it happened? Because
people
are nuts and, you know, everybody wants to talk about, oh, violence in video games and, you know, and guns made people do this and,
you know what made people do this? The economy sucks. People are depressed. And what happens when people get depressed or feel oppressed?
I don't think it's even that. I think it's because, you know, we don't, you know, moms and dads don't stick it out, you know.
Don't stick what out?
With their kids. You know, they don't, kids aren't raising themselves or, you know, we got it bad. You know, it's rough where we are. And it's rough for us. There ain't no doubt about it. But we still take time to spend with our kids. You know, they know we love them.
What else is there to do? I mean, why wouldn't you spend time with your kids? That's you had them, you made them. That's
But-
kind of what you're supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to do. That ain't what everybody does, though. I mean,
I
a
know,
lot of people don't do that. You know, a lot of people have their kids and they want to dump them off on somebody else, or you know.
Even when we need a babysitter, we can't find one.
Well, no. So I want to try to plan things for us all to do together. But that's what I'm saying. That's people want to blame society and what happened and why is all this going on and why. There's one good thing to look at. Why don't you look at that? You know,
Well, maybe we
You're
should
gonna have
also look
kids.
at the fact that
grow up and be a parent.
well, we're also making kids grow up too fast.
Well, no doubt about that.
Why does